Hey guys, Miss Juarez. Today we're doing lesson 14, but it's going to be a little different than what we've been doing before. Okay, so today I know we've been doing money, we've been doing bar graphs and picture graphs, but we're going to start to do something a little different, something similar to what we've done before, but different than what we've been doing for module 7. So the objective of today, okay, is I can connect measurement with physical units by using an inch tile to measure. So today we are going to be using an inch tile to measure. Now, the first thing I want us to do is, I'm going to make myself a little smaller, put myself on the side, is get a little subtraction facts going, okay? So we're going to do some subtraction flashcards. So the first one is 11 minus 1. I'm going to be giving you about 3 to 4 seconds of think time. So when you know the answer, say it. So let's get started. The first one is 11 minus 1. Yes, 10. Next one is 11 minus 2. Yes, 9. The next one is 11 minus 3. 8. Next one is 11 minus 4. 7. Next one, 11 minus 5. 6. Next one, 11 minus 6. 5. Next one, 11 minus 7. 4. And the last one, 11 minus 8. 3. Very good. If you got all of those right, go ahead and kiss your brain. Awesome job. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is our application problem. So if you don't have your application problem, go ahead and find that. Get your workbook, application problem. If you need the page, I'll just stop and wait. Okay, and your pencil, you're going to need that too. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause it now and then come back when you have your application problem ready. All right, the application problem says, I'm going to put this a little lower right here. It says, Frances is moving the furniture in her bedroom. She wants to move the bookcase to the space between her bed and the wall, but she's not sure if it will fit. What could Frances use as a measurement tool if she doesn't have a ruler? And how could she use it? So let's think again. If Frances is moving furniture in her bedroom, she wants to move a bookcase. So imagine this little bookcase that I put right here as the bookcase, okay? So she wants to move that bookcase to the space between her bed and the wall. But she's not sure if it is going to fit, right? Because she doesn't have a ruler. So how can she use it? What can she use? How can she do that? So I want you to pause the video and think, what can she use if she doesn't have a ruler? What can she use to measure the space between her bed and the wall? So pause the video. You can draw a picture, write your sentence, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, I'm sure you're done, right? So let's go ahead and figure out, this is what Ms. Juarez drew. So I made a picture of her bedroom, okay? So that's the bed right here. And then I put the wall right here. So this is her bookcase. So my answer was Frances can put the book at one end of the bookcase and mark where the book ends. Then she moves the book forward so it's right on the mark. She keeps doing that to find the total length. Then she does that between the wall and the bed. That sounds kind of confusing, right? So what I was thinking is she can actually use a book. So our math book, Frances could actually use that book to measure, right, from the wall to the bed and see how many books it is. So let's say she needs 5 books. So then she would go to the bookcase and see if it's 5 books long or if it's longer or shorter and see if that fits. Does that make sense? Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to the concept development. Okay, so I want you to remember here what this is called. Let's see if you remember what we used to call this. We did this in module 2. So let's see if you remember what this is called. A centimeter cube. Yes. And how did we use it earlier in the year in module 2? How did we use a centimeter cube? What did we do with it? Do you remember? If it's a little hard for you to remember, it's okay. You can pause the video and then think of the stuff that we used the centimeter cube for, and then you can come back. What do you think? We used it for a strategy. Remember the strategy we used? Mark and move forward. Remember that strategy? Yes, we used it. We talked about it in a story. We used a mark and move forward strategy, right? So that's kind of what we did with our application problem. If you think of it, we were using a mark and move forward using a book to see if the space was enough for the bookshelf between the wall and the bed. So just like we used that, we're going to keep using measurements to see if something fits. Okay, so we're going to, what do you think would have helped Frances solve her problem? How do you think she would have been able to solve her problem? Think about it. If the bookcase is 5 books long and the space between the wall and the bed is 4 books long, she knows that the bookcase won't fit, right? But if she measures the bookcase and can fit the same number of books or more, then she knows it will fit. Now, does the size of the book matter? So let's say, for example, Frances has to use a big book, or can she use a smaller book? What do you think? No, right? The size of the book doesn't matter. What matters, I'm trying to see if I can find a smaller book. What does matter is that she keeps using the same book. Because imagine if she uses this book to measure the bookshelf, right? And then she uses a smaller book to measure the space between the wall and the bed. What do you think would happen then? Yeah, she'll think she needs a lot of books because the books were smaller, right? So if she measures with a small book from the space between the bed and the wall, and it's a small book, then she might need 10 books. And then she measures the bookshelf with a bigger book, and she might only need 5. So then she might say, well, it doesn't fit because I need 10 books and I only have 5. You see what I'm saying? So it's important. The size that you use to measure something doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep using that same tool to measure the different objects or the different things. You can use different tools to measure different things to see if they fit. Okay, now today we're going to look at different units of measurement. Today we're going to use an inch. So again, we're going to look at different units of measurement, and we're going to be measuring with an inch. Now, I put here a ruler because I want you to compare and look at these 2 pictures. So when we were in class, we used to use an inch tile. Remember the little tiles we would use to make our arrays? Okay, well, that's the same tile. So I want you to keep that in the back of your head that we've had that before and we've used that before. The length of that was an inch. So remember, we used to use our ruler as well, and it had 2 sides. And I would always tell you, use the smaller size because we're using centimeters to measure. This was a centimeter cube. The red one is a centimeter cube. The blue one is the inch tile that we would use for our arrays in module 6. So I want you to remember how those two looked. And I want you to tell me, how does the size of the inch tile compare to the size of the centimeter cube? What do you think? Look at the picture and tell me, how do they compare? What do you think? The inch tile is a lot bigger, right? Because it's an inch. This one was only 1 centimeter. So if you see the inch tile, if you see it right here where I'm moving the little arrow, the inch tile is 1 inch. That's almost 3 centimeters. So the inch tile is a lot bigger than the centimeter cube. So today we're going to be using this inch tile to measure, okay? Now, look how I used the inch tile to measure this line. What I did is I put the tile at the beginning of the line on the hash mark. Remember, those lines at the very beginning are called hash marks. I put the inch tile there, the very beginning of the line, and then I made another mark where the tile ends. Right here where the tile ends. Okay? Now, I'm going to do the mark and move forward strategy. So I already marked with my pencil there, I already marked where it ends. So now I'm going to grab my inch tile and I'm gonna move it over. Remember, mark and move forward. That's the next thing I'm going to do. Look how I use the inch tile to measure this line. So what I did was I moved the tile forward and I placed it at the edge, right on the top of the mark, right? Remember, right at the top of the mark. Then I make another mark where the tile ends again. So to keep measuring this line, what do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use the mark and move forward again, right? So I'm gonna grab my inch tile and I'm gonna move it again to make another line. There we go. So I move the tile forward again and place the edge right on the top of the mark. And I made another mark where the tile ended. Do you think we can make one more? Look at the picture. Do you think we can make one more? Let's see. Yes. So I move it one more time and it fits perfectly between the last mark that I drew and the mark at the end of the line. You see how it looks perfect? It fit. All right, so do I keep going? No, right? Because the line is done. So there's no more line, so I don't need to keep going. I already measured it. Very good. So now I already have my lines. You can see them. But now I want you to think, what do you notice about the spaces between the hash marks? Look at the hash marks, right? Remember, every line that we made is a hash mark. What do you think that means? The space between one hash mark and the next hash mark. What do those mean? That means that each hash mark is a new inch, right? So is this inch, the very first inch that you see there, is that 1 inch or 0 inches? 0 inches, because I'm just getting started. I haven't marked an inch yet, so that would be 0. So then the next line would be how many inches? 1, and the next line is 2, and the next line is 3, and the last line is 4-inch tiles. So how many inch tiles do I have? Remember, the space between one hash mark and the other is 1 inch, the space. So if we count the spaces, we have 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, and 4 spaces. So how many inch tiles did I use? Yes, 4-inch tiles. Very good. So how many inch tiles long is my line? 4-inch tiles long. Now, what happens if my line isn't exactly that many tiles long? What do we do? So imagine, look at this next slide. How long would you say that this line is? If you can see my line ended, where my line ended, And my tile ended a little bit before that. So is it still 4-inch tiles or is it not? What do you think? It is, notice if you see it. So not yes. If you think it's still 4 or not, no, it's not 4. Okay. What I want you to see is if you go from the first hash mark to the last hash mark, is it in the middle? Is that line in the middle? No, right? It's more than half, right? It's a little more than half, so that means we go to the next one. So that means that yes, it would still be the next number and it would still be 4-inch tiles long. How about this one? Look at it very carefully. What do you notice about this line? They did an overlap. Remember, no gaps, no overlaps. Well, if you see this line here, the very end has a overlap because the first inch tiles were correct, but then when you get to the end, it's smaller. So that means that there was an overlap there. So we can't do that. How many inch tiles would that be? 4. It'd be 4 because that's where it ended. Very good. All right. So now we're going to be using your problem set for the rest of this lesson. I know that it's a little difficult because I'm not here to see you. And I do see that we have to measure objects with an inch tile. And I know some of you may not have an inch tile, but maybe you have a ruler or your parents have a measuring tape or maybe one of those, yeah, a measuring tape or those that pull. I'm trying to find one. I know I had one somewhere around here. But maybe you don't have one yourself, and that's okay. What we can do is you can have your parents, my scissors, you can ask your parents to figure out, if you have a ruler, get a ruler out, okay? And have your parents get a piece of paper and make an inch tile with the ruler. So you can use that as your example, okay, as your tile. If you don't have a tile, that's okay. Have your parents measure your tile. So get a piece of paper and then you can use your ruler. You can use your ruler. Let's say, you know, I really believe that this space, I don't know if you can see it, the space where the blue line and the red line meet, I think that's an inch. So you can use that piece right there, cut it. So you grab your scissors, you cut that part there. Hopefully you have scissors. And you can use that as an inch tile. And then what we're gonna do is do our mark and move forward. So we'd start here. Obviously you do it on the paper and then you mark and move forward, mark and move forward to kind of see how many inch tiles the scissors are. And if you can find a marker, do it with the marker. If you can find a pencil, do it with the pencil. And then an eraser, a worksheet, the length and the width of the table. I know that there's a lot of things that you might not have at home, and that's okay. You can get creative, and if you have a tissue box, you can use a tissue box, and you can just scratch out eraser if you don't have one, and then write at the top what you measured with your inch tile, okay? So if you don't have, let's say, a desk, but you have a table, or you have a drawer or a nightstand, you can measure that and just cross out desk and write that, okay? We can do that as well. And then you can just send that. Now for the next one on your problem set, this one, for this part, you do not need a measuring because if you see the lines are already there for you. This one says, Mark and Melissa both measured the same marker with an inch ruler, but came up with different lengths. Circle the student work that is correct and explain why you chose that work. So I'm going to give you a little hint. Remember that that very first hash mark, is that a 1 or is that a 0? It's a 0. So make sure that you put 0 at the beginning. You can write your numbers at the bottom. Okay? And then we're basically done. Okay? So you can, when you finish with this, you can go to your exit ticket and then send me your exit ticket. Have fun, and remember, don't feel bad and don't worry if you don't have anything to measure with. You can just make up your own measuring tool, and if you need to use a ruler, you can use a ruler on the 1st inch, and that's okay. If your parents have questions or if you don't understand something, just go ahead and let me know. I'm always here to help you. And I will see you on lesson 15. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye, guys. Miss y'all.